Hi, Mark Oswald hosting another segment of Londonderry Heart, Home, and Soul. This particular program is being taped on Friday, February 20th, I believe.
Yes, it is.
Yes. And there's 67 million reasons that you want to be attentive during this programming. With me today, from my far right, Nate Greenberg, our superintendent. Welcome.
Hi, Mark.
Letha Riley, our school board member.
Hello.
And Peter Curl, business manager, financial wizard.
Thank you. Yeah,
That's enough. That's enough for today.
That's very good.
I'd like to start, Nate, with you first in terms of the district's strategic plan. Everything kind of falls into place from that.
Absolutely. Our philosophy has been and continues to be that we don't plan our budget, we budget our plan. And the budget as proposed now is $67,764,153. That's as amended. $240,000 was added at deliberative session. We'll leave that aside for a second. The focus of our budget is to accomplish a goal that we set out. We presently have 90% of our graduating students going on to 2- and 4-year colleges. In 2016, we want to make that 92%, and in 2020, we want to make that 95%. Those are nice numbers, but what are they representative of, and how do we want to get there? We believe we'll be able to get there through programs and services, and what might they be? Well, built into the budget, low class sizes at the elementary level, quality services and curriculum and program throughout. Just to give you an example, the offering 28 dual enrollment courses at the high school, and dual enrollment courses are courses that kids can take to get not only credit towards high school graduation, but also college credit, 11 AP courses, and a wide variety of honors courses and elective courses. In addition, for kids to be career and college ready, which is what we're talking about, we also believe in a very strong co-curricular and academic program that adds to a youngster's skills and abilities. To that end, last year we had 8,000 student participants in our co- and extracurricular activities. That's band, marching band, orchestra, athletics, a whole variety of clubs, student leadership opportunities, student council. So you take all of those, plus the significant integration of technology into our instructional program, things like flipped learning, blended learning. We believe all those put together with a strong curriculum, ability to deliver those services in a cost-effective and efficient and intellectually honest way are going to give our kids that opportunity. Now, knowing the size of our budget, which is $67 million and change, one of the things that we've also been very aggressive in are cost containment and cost avoidance. Mm-hmm. To that end, looking at next year, we believe our cost avoidance and our cost savings are going to be over $11 million. So let me explain how that we got to that figure. As our enrollment dropped, we were able to develop our own in-house special education programs for low-incidence students, youngsters with intellectual disabilities or emotional difficulties or on the autism spectrum. Those programs next year alone at the preschool, elementary, middle, and high school level will save us almost $9 million. We have also instituted over the years an energy management program that saves us another $300,000 a year. Since inception, which was 13 years ago, $5.3 million in energy savings. We converted to natural gas. That's going to save us $162,000. Our electric supplier contracts are going to save us another $50,000. IT is going to save us about $120,000, and part of that savings is really a dual benefit in the sense that during the summer we have our own high school students build computers, and that saves us a significant amount of money and also gives these kids a great opportunity to learn some additional skills. Then on top of that, we've been very aggressive in trying to get tuition students. We'll have 82 tuition students at the high school next year, plus additional tuition students in a preschool program, some of our special ed programs, and that's $1 million and change.
Take a moment and elaborate. Most of these young people are from Hooksett, correct?
Right.
Okay. And maybe for the audience, if they're new to town or they're not familiar with it, this is the second year, I believe?
Third.
Third
We'll
year,
Be, we'll be
okay.
going into the third year.
All right.
And the way we look at that over $1 million in tuition is it has not resulted in us having to increase staff. The only cost really associated with it are textbooks and paper.
The building's already there.
Buildings there, we're already paying for heat, we're already paying for light, we don't pay for transportation.
Right.
So, in effect, there is almost a 30-cent cost savings for the taxpayer because we put this tuition program in. So that's, I think, a significant benefit. Then, two, one of the other things that we have been doing since '06, I'll use that as our demarcation point, is we've been adjusting staff based on our decline in enrollment. So we have, since '06, reduced our faculty and staff by about 160 positions. So that's a reduction of about 21% in our entire faculty and staff, including administration. To match almost one-to-one with our decline in enrollment. Our decline in enrollment over that period of time has been 24%. So we reduced staff 21 and increased 24, and some of that, seeing a decrease in our enrollment by 24. Some of the difference, too, is made up by some of our staffing in our special education programs, which are generating significant cost savings for us. So put together an entire package, we think, based on our strategic plan, the funding that's been put in place, the focus and that we have on career and college-ready skills across the board, we believe gives our taxpayers an excellent return on their dollar and is of significant value not only to the students but the community as a whole.
How do you account for unanticipated costs? I mean, this winter's been tough
Right.
for all of us as homeowners. Certainly, the school district's got
Correct.
700,000 square feet, something of building and roadways and parking lots and
Right.
and roofing. I know you had some cranes.
Correct.
Some of the schools this week were moving
Right.
snow from the rooftops.
Right. Generally, we try to anticipate from year to year funding in our maintenance accounts based on previous experience. So that allows us to pick up some of it. In extreme cases, we will have to take money from other lines in the budget to offset those costs. But we generally try to budget appropriately, and what is not spent then gets returned back to the taxpayer the following year.
Right. I think there's two areas that we can tap into. If you remember, I think it's 2 years ago now, the state finally allowed schools to retain surplus funds, similar to what the towns have been able to do for many years. So we believe we have 209,000 in that what's called unassigned fund balance. So if we ever had to dip into something for an emergency and the funds in the general fund budget aren't there, we have that reserve. We also have a couple of capital reserves for maintenance. So we have a capital reserve for, still one for buildings. So we got some reserve accounts that should something ever happen. We have a reserve account for special ed. So should any of those happen, there are capital reserve accounts set up to use those funds if indeed we run out of money or the impact is straining the programs and services for the regular ed program or the general fund budget.
Right. And the old adage, pay now or pay later. So there's a
Correct.
number of neighboring communities that have actually closed schools this week, either short or longer term, because of structural issues
Absolutely.
with the snow loads.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I think one of the real positives about our school district is the fact that we try to be very proactive. So Chuck Zappala, who's our director of facilities, and Peter were right on top of the snow issue. So a week before everybody else started with snow removal, we were already on top
Right.
of it, and I'm sure people in the in town saw the pictures of the two cranes that we had first at South School.
I think the kids enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely, they
Yeah.
did.
Yeah,
They
and
did.
And I believe the total tally from South School alone was something like 400,000 pounds of snow removed
Yeah.
from the roof.
Yeah.
550,000.
That can certainly make parents rest easier at night knowing that their kids are in buildings that are safe. Now, we never came near load capacity on those
Right.
buildings, so I just want to assure the public that that the kids were never in
And
jeopardy,
there's
but
some neighboring towns that
proactively.
have exceeded their
Yes,
capacity.
Yes,
absolutely.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Right, okay. You touched on cost savings. I mean, you've done a lot, I know, in avoiding tuitioning students out. You mentioned the energy savings, the staffing levels. You've been very
Right.
proactive over the last number of years. Is there anything that came up in the budget process that if you could add it back, you would?
I can say that I believe that the budget that we put forward was educationally defensive, fiscally prudent, and would enable us to deliver the services and programs that our community has become accustomed to.
And the budget that you and the board approved for the voters was amended in the deliberative session.
That's correct. Yeah. There was a motion made from the floor to add $240,000 to the budget. That's reflected in the budget figure that we had mentioned earlier. And that was, in the interest of transparency and everything, people wanted us to put assistance back in the classrooms at the elementary level. Some assistance time back at the elementary level.
And per the charter, the voters in March will have only two choices for the operating budget. One, the amended school board budget, and the calculated default budget.
And even with the amended budget of $240,000, you're still roughly $150,000 less than
Correct.
the default.
Right.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And the tax rate for the operating budget would be $12.65, which is
Flat.
flat. This year's, for the operating budget is $12.65.
Unamended, it was, I think, 6 cents tax rate less than.
Less.
Right.
Okay. Significant cost impact are the contracts. You've got a couple of contracts that are coming up.
Right. That would be a separate warrant article.
Right.
Right. There's 2 of them.
There's two. One is for the teachers, which is about $1.1 million, and for the people who are watching at home, that will be Article 3.
Correct.
And its first year of the contract would be $1,163,989. We believe that this is a very fair and equitable contract. And when went back to cross-check to see how our teachers compare with surrounding communities, in a vast majority of the checkpoints, if you want to call it steps, whether it's bachelor's, master's, or whatever, our teachers next year, if this contract is approved, would still be below the majority of the checkpoints on contracts that other surrounding districts have for this year. Now, it does represent, as was mentioned at the deliberative session, an increase of 3.8%, but we believe it's fair and appropriate. It's an excellent contract. We have outstanding faculty. The vast majority of our faculty have masters or above as far as degree status is concerned. We believe they deliver outstanding service to our children. We're very proud of them, and we believe that they should get the support from the community and recognition for their outstanding service.
And the difference this time is that this is a 2-year contract, unlike in previous years we've had
Correct.
3-year contracts. And the reason for that essentially is because of the unknown regarding the Obamacare, the Health Care Act. So we decided and agreed on a 2-year contract in this particular instance.
And what a segue. You mentioned healthcare and the other contracts for
Allied Health.
Allied Health.
Right. Allied Health are our physical therapists, occupational therapists, nurses. They're all in that group. Salary increase, average salary increase is just about the same as the teachers. That's for $85,321. About 30 individuals in that bargaining group. And just like the teachers, these individuals provide outstanding service to our children, are key to to supplying related services, whether it's speech and language or OT or PT for our special education students. And obviously everyone knows that our nurses are essential just to the daily operation of our schools, particularly if
This
we-
time of year.
yeah, they've been quite busy. So we, again, would really request the community come out and support.
And again,
Both
for
those
the same
contracts.
reasons, it's a 2-year contract
Yes.
along with the teachers.
Okay. Federal funding for food service. Lisa,
Um,
I'll let you run with this one.
Yeah, this essentially allows us to accept federal monies for our school lunch program and IDEA grants as well. So there's zero impact to the taxpayer.
Unless
and
it
we feel-
fails.
Unless it fails.
And then we'd have to
True.
come up with some significant
True,
money.
that is a true statement,
It's over $1 million, correct?
Right.
yes.
But I do want to add one little thing. There's been discussion among the school board, and you've heard that Salem is doing, I'll use the phrase, a pilot of pulling the high school out of the federal program. This article has nothing to do with that program or that pilot.
Yep.
This is just allowing us the ability to accept federal money for food service and the IDA special education grant. Should this fail, that means that we would not be allowed to access the federal money. And as you pointed out, we'd have to go inside the operating budget and find roughly $2 million, one for IDA and one for food service.
Yeah.
So that the two are not linked at all.
Yeah.
Right, and to piggyback on what Peter said, the over $1 million for special education funding, the IDEA, is basically for staffing. And it's critical that we get that money to pay, to have the staff members to deliver those services, which are, we're legally bound to do. So no matter what happened, if this article goes down, we would have to make $1 million in reductions someplace in the budget,
For that staff.
so for that staff.
Safe to
That's a
say
lot.
that if we would reject this, not only do we have to make up the difference, the federal government would give the money to somebody else.
Yep,
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
without a doubt.
Okay, all right. Maintenance trust fund.
Okay. The maintenance trust fund is, it's important to note that it's a non-lapsing fund. In other words, any funds not used at the end of the year will be kept in this fund for future use. It doesn't go back into a general operating fund budget or anything like that. We had said last year that if the $4 million bond passed, that the monies in the fund would drop drastically the first year, and then you'd expect to see a $50,000 increase every year. The goal is to get the maintenance trust fund to a balance of about $800,000 to $900,000, so that it's self-supporting, and that when the debt payment for the 10-year bond is coming off, it would then be a while before the school district would have to go out and seek a bond for maintenance items. The
Well,
whole
Nate
goal
tou-
here.
Yeah, Nate touched on this earlier about being proactive. You know, Chuck Zapple and his staff. I think it's important to note that this maintenance trust fund allows a lot of that to happen.
Yep.
Right.
You don't wait
Absolutely.
till it becomes a big issue. I always draw the analogy of being a homeowner. You know, you don't want to have to put in energy efficient windows, but if you don't, then that oil and gas money is going out. And you don't want to have to replace the roof, and yet it's just the joys of home ownership, and it's no different for the school district. You've got to properly maintain, you know, in a preventive sense many times.
And I think what's
And-
popular about the article is that the monies, if this article were to be approved, and I don't think it has failed yet, can only be used for maintenance items.
Correct.
So it doesn't roll into the operating
Correct.
budget for something else.
We've had this for about 15, 20 years.
More than that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it's pretty popular for that reason.
And I think one thing, too, just to add to this, it's important to note, we have over 8,000 activities in the afternoon, in the evening, after school and on weekends, at the schools. And many of those are purely community-based
Right.
activities. So
Right.
we really, truly have community schools, community facilities, community fields.
Right, right. Capital reserve funds. Can we explain the purpose of those and?
Yeah, for many years, the school district has used a capital lease arrangement for equipment purchases and needs. And the board had asked, you know, how we get away from the capital lease to avoid paying interest on those types of purchases. We'd done a hybrid in recent
Yep,
years.
have to move over a bridge.
Yep, and a little bit from the trust, a bit from the lease, but now we're fully funding almost all of the equipment needs that we have in the district through this fund. So basically, we'll continue to use, if there's any leftover, that what we would do is we'd continue to fund the balance, or any unreserved or unassigned monies would stay within the capital reserve fund for those types of purchases.
Right, and again, it's similar to the maintenance trust, it's a non-lapsing article. And the article as written, we would use money left over from this current fiscal year. And as Letha pointed out, all new equipment for the district that has been identified through the process is in this article. There is no new equipment, whether it's needed, necessary, in the operating budget. It's all in this article. So if this article fails, the district basically receives no new equipment, whether it's technology or classroom or other essential needs.
Okay. Last thing I have here is auditorium. We did a show recently
Right.
that's probably airing now, but let's just touch base briefly on the purpose. The A&E is 500,000. Walk people
Right.
through that.
Historically, what we've done with a great deal of success is have a two-step process on any construction project. This would be step one. This is $500,000, a warrant article for $500,000 for architectural and engineering costs. What we would do with that money is completely design and get cost figures for the construction of an auditorium. Get a maximum guaranteed price. And let's just use $8 million, $9 million, let's say, as the figure. We would then, next year, put forth a proposal to bond $9 million for the construction of an auditorium with a guaranteed maximum price. When we did the high school renovation, when we did
North School.
North
South
School, when South School, all the construction projects we have done this way. We have never, ever, ever gone over budget or come back to the taxpayers and said, oh, by the way, we built this, but we don't have a roof because we didn't have enough money.
Or late.
Or
late.
or late. So they've all been on time and on the budget. This is a very efficient, effective, and thoughtful way of addressing it. So what we're asking the community to do is to vote yes to give us the $500,000 to do the architectural and engineering costs so that we can design the building, get a guaranteed maximum price on it, and then present a legitimate bond figure to the taxpayers next year. What's also important is that I think by the time we have to make the first bond payment, the middle school bond will have,
Is retired.
is retired.
And it's important for the public to know too what we get out of this 500,000. We get what I call like a Bible. It's like this thick, and it has everything in it. It has all the plans, all the renderings, all the plans, down to the last detail. You know, you have curtains, you have lighting, you have everything that's involved in that, and the cost to pay for it is all part of that. So that even if, let's assume for the sake of argument, the voters grace us with the 500,000 to go ahead with this process, and we get this book, and then next year we go and we ask the voters again for the big project. If they say no, we still have this book. This is ours. We own it at the end of the day. So those plans are all there so that if the timing's not right or whatever, we have something that's fully baked.
We're not reinventing the wheel.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Labor costs may go up.
Sure, of course,
building
material
costs may go up.
costs may go up, but at least we have this, we own this
Right.
at that point.
But also to your point with the book, if labor or steel, which would be a big part, would go up, it would be much simpler to take the calculations that have
Yep.
been done,
Jolted, adjusted by multiplier.
add the inflation to get the readjusted number.
Right, right. There's you've done a admirable job with the school website of posting all this. So if those of you in TV land have had difficulty following up with a lot of numbers being thrown out, the special report done by the committee
Yes.
of
Yes.
community members and school officials for the proposed auditorium is linked on the website. The budget's there.
Yes.
Yep.
The sample
so.
ballot is there. So hopefully, I thank you all for coming out this afternoon.
Thank you.
And
Thank
we've
you for
addressed,
having
I
us.
think, some of the key points before the voters. Tuesday, March 10th, Londonderry High School, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Correct.
Yep.
And thank
Please
you.
get out and vote.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Remember, as always, be of good heart.